There's something almost magical about standing in the shadow of an ancient temple where the air hums with centuries of whispered secrets, and every carved stone tells a story older than nations. These aren't just buildings, they're time capsules, monuments to human ingenuity, faith, and an unshakable drive to reach for the divine. Across every continent, from mist-shrouded jungles to sun-baked deserts, these sacred spaces have defied time, war, and nature itself. And today, we're embarking on a journey to uncover 30 of the most breathtaking ancient temples ever built, each one a masterpiece of artistry, engineering, and mystery. Picture this: you're climbing weathered stairs under a sky streaked with dawn, your fingers brushing against glyphs carved by hands that vanished millennia ago. Somewhere in the distance, a forgotten god's name echoes in the wind. That's the pull of these places. They don't just show us history, they let us feel it. From the towering spires of Angkor Wat, where dawn paints the stones gold, to the hidden cliffside sanctuaries of Petra, carved into rose-red rock as if by the gods themselves, these temples aren't just relics. They're portals, and for a moment, if you listen closely, you can almost hear the chants of priests, the clash of empires, the dreams of civilizations that dared to build the impossible. So how did they do it? Without modern tools, without blueprints, often without even written language, how did ancient cultures create structures so precise, so enduring, that they leave us breathless even today? That's the mystery we're unraveling. Over the next 30 stops, we'll decode celestial alignments etched into stone, uncover hidden chambers whispered about in legend, and stand where kings and pilgrims stood, searching for answers in the stars. This isn't just a tour, it's a detective story written in sandstone and sacrifice, and trust me, by the end, you'll never look at these ancient wonders the same way again. Our first stop takes us back further than you might think possible, to a windswept hill in southeastern Turkey, where the stones of Göbekli Tepe have silently rewritten human history. This isn't just old, it's unthinkably ancient, built around 9,600 years before the Common Era, long before the pyramids, before Stonehenge, even before the invention of pottery or the wheel. What makes this place extraordinary isn't just its age, but what it reveals. Here, hunter-gatherers, people we once assumed were nomadic and simple, carved towering limestone pillars, some weighing over 16 tons, arranging them into vast circular temples adorned with intricate reliefs of lions, scorpions, and vultures. The mystery deepens with every excavation. These T-shaped pillars aren't just stacked, they're interlocked with precision, suggesting a level of planning and cooperation that defies everything we thought we knew about prehistoric societies. Why would people who hadn't yet settled into farming communities devote such staggering effort to a spiritual site? Some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe was a pilgrimage destination, drawing people from hundreds of miles away. Others speculate its carvings tell a forgotten story of the constellations, or even a catastrophic event like a comet strike. Discovered in the 1990s by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, the site is still only 5% uncovered. Every dig season unveils new chambers, new carvings, each one a puzzle piece in humanity's earliest chapter. What's clear is this: Göbekli Tepe forces us to rethink the origins of civilization. It wasn't agriculture that drove us to build monumental architecture. It might have been the other way around. The desire to create sacred spaces like this could have been the spark that eventually led to villages, cities, and everything that followed. Standing here, you're not just looking at stones, you're staring into the birth of human ambition. From the dawn of civilization at Göbekli Tepe, we now travel to the banks of the Nile, where the sheer scale of human ambition takes a breathtaking new form: the great temple complex of Karnak. Imagine walking through a forest of stone, where 134 towering columns rise like ancient redwoods, each carved with intricate hieroglyphs that glow under the Egyptian sun. This isn't just a temple, it's a city of the gods, built over 2,000 years by generations of pharaohs who sought to outdo their ancestors in devotion to Amun-Ra, king of the deities. At the heart of Karnak lies the hypostyle hall, a masterpiece of engineering that would dwarf even modern cathedrals. Some columns stretch nearly 70 feet high, their capitals wide enough to hold 50 people standing shoulder to shoulder. What's astonishing isn't just their size, but their precision, every inch covered in vibrant carvings depicting battles, rituals, and offerings, all painted in colors so vivid they still whisper of their original brilliance after 33 centuries. The hall was designed to awe, to make worshippers feel like ants in the presence of the divine. And when the sun slants through the papyrus-shaped capitals, casting shadows that mimic the marshes of creation, you understand why. Then there are the obelisk's needles of pink Aswan granite piercing the sky. The tallest, erected by Queen Hatshepsut, stands 97 feet tall and weighs a staggering 323 tons. How did they transport these monolithic wonders without pulleys or wheels? The answer lies in the Nile's annual floods, which turned the desert into a temporary highway. Barges carried these stones 400 miles downstream, a feat of logistics that would challenge modern engineers. But Karnak wasn't just a static monument. It pulsed with life during the Opet festival, when the statue of Amun-Ra was paraded from Karnak to Luxor Temple in a golden bark. For 27 days, the city erupted in music, feasting, and rituals meant to rejuvenate the god, and by extension, the kingdom itself. Priests chanted, wine flowed, and the pharaoh performed sacred rites hidden from public view, reinforcing his divine connection. This festival wasn't just pageantry, it was the spiritual heartbeat of Egypt, a reminder that order triumphed over chaos. What's mesmerizing about Karnak is how it layers time like the rings of a tree. Walk its corridors and you'll find Ramses Roman II battle scenes chiseled over Thutmose Roman III earlier reliefs, or Hatshepsut's name scratched out by her successor. Every pharaoh left their mark, sometimes literally rewriting history in stone. And beneath the sand, archaeologists still uncover new chambers like the recent discovery of a workshop filled with statues, as if the artisans simply walked away mid-task. Karnak's true power lies in its paradox, a place of eternal ideals built by flawed, mortal hands. It's a testament to what happens when faith meets ambition, when humans dare to build not just for their lifetime but for eternity. As the setting sun turns its columns to gold, you can almost hear the echoes of 1,000 priests whispering the same prayer that bound this empire together: life, prosperity, health. And for a moment you believe it. Now we leave the sands of Egypt for the emerald jungles of Cambodia, where the world's largest religious monument rises from the earth like a dream carved in stone. Angkor Wat isn't just a temple, it's a cosmic mirror. A sprawling 5 million ton ode to the heavens, built in the 12th century by King Suryavarman II as both a spiritual powerhouse and a political statement. Imagine a structure so vast, its moat alone could swallow most medieval cathedrals. But what makes this place extraordinary isn't just its scale. It's the way every inch whispers of a civilization that saw no divide between earth and sky. Step closer and the sandstone comes alive. The outer galleries stretch for nearly half a mile, lined with bas-reliefs so detailed they could fill an epic library. Here, Hindu myths unfold in stone, gods and demons churning the ocean of milk for immortality, armies clashing in the Mahabharata's legendary battles, even scenes from daily life: fishermen hauling nets, merchants haggling, dancers mid-twirl. These aren't mere decorations, they're a sacred encyclopedia meant to guide souls through earthly duties and celestial truths. And if you look closely, you'll spot something peculiar. Some carvings show warriors carrying firearms centuries before guns reached Southeast Asia. Was this a stroke of prophetic art or evidence of lost technology? The real magic, though, lies in the temple's alignment. Angkor Wat is a scaled-down model of the Hindu cosmos, with its central towers representing Mount Meru, home of the gods. But it's also a precise astronomical instrument. On the spring equinox, the sun rises directly over the tallest tower, a phenomenon that would have signaled the start of the harvest. Even more astonishing, the entire complex mirrors the constellation Draco as it appeared in 10,500 BCE, a date impossibly ancient for its builders. Coincidence or a message left by a forgotten predecessor? Then there's the enigma of its transformation. Originally dedicated to Vishnu, Angkor Wat gradually became a Buddhist site, its statues quietly repurposed, its walls adorned with new teachings. This wasn't destruction, it was adaptation, a testament to how fluid faith can be. But by the 15th century, the temple lay silent, swallowed by vines. Why? War, drought, or something subtler? A shift in trade routes that drained its lifeblood. The jungle reclaimed it so completely that early European explorers refused to believe locals could have built it, spinning tales of lost Roman legions instead. Today, Angkor Wat still guards its secrets. LiDAR scans reveal an invisible city beneath the soil canals, roads, even entire temples waiting to be unearthed. And somewhere in the labyrinth, archaeologists still hunt for the legendary gold-covered tower mentioned in ancient texts. Standing here at dawn, watching the first light gild those weathered spires, you realize this isn't just a ruin. It's a living puzzle, one that redefines brilliance every time the sun climbs higher. High above the modern bustle of Athens, where the Mediterranean light turns marble to molten gold, stands the Parthenon, a monument so perfect its imperfections were engineered on purpose. Built in just 9 years during the 5th century before the Common Era, this temple wasn't just a house for Athena, it was a mathematical love letter to the goddess of wisdom. Look closely at those iconic Doric columns, they're not straight. Each one curves slightly inward, bulging at the center like a tensed muscle, while the platform beneath them rises gently toward the middle. These weren't mistakes, they were optical illusions crafted to counteract the way the human eye perceives distance. Without them, the Parthenon would have looked distorted, its grandeur diminished. Inside, the statue of Athena Parthenos loomed over worshippers, her ivory skin and gold drapery glinting in the dim light. At 39 feet tall, she held a 6-foot statue of Nike in one palm, while a shield at her feet bore a carving of Greeks battling Amazons, with the artist cheekily adding portraits of himself and the statesman Pericles among the warriors. But the true masterstroke was the temple's sculptural storytelling. The metopes depicted the Trojan War and the gods fighting giants, while the frieze showed Athenians in a sacred procession, blending myth and reality to proclaim, "This city is chosen by the gods." Then came the Elgin marbles, a controversy that still simmers today. In the early 1800s, British diplomat Lord Elgin removed about half the surviving sculptures, claiming Ottoman permission. Greece argues they were looted. The British Museum insists they were saved from decay. Walking through the Acropolis Museum today, you'll see plaster casts where originals should be, their absence as loud as any protest. Recent laser scans reveal something poignant. The Parthenon's remaining sculptures are eroding 10 times faster from modern pollution than they did in 2,000 years prior. Yet the Parthenon's resilience is its paradox. It's been a Greek temple, a Christian church with its east end hacked open for an apse, and even a mosque under Ottoman rule, complete with a minaret built where Athena once stood. When Venetian bombs ignited Turkish gunpowder stored inside in 1687, the explosion shattered the structure but couldn't erase its spirit. Today, restoration teams use original techniques, carving new marble blocks with the same hand tools, slotting them into place like a 3-dimensional puzzle. Standing here at sunset, when shadows stretch across the Erechthaeon's caryatids, you realize the Parthenon was never just a building. It's a mirror reflecting Athens' golden age, its tumultuous history, and even our modern debates about art, ownership, and identity. The stones whisper a truth as old as democracy itself. Greatness isn't about being unchanging, but about enduring through every transformation. Deep in the heart of Java, where mist clings to emerald volcanoes, an entire cosmology rises from the earth. Borobudur, the world's largest Buddhist temple, built not to enclose space but to map the soul's journey. Imagine a mountain of 2 million volcanic stones, its 9 terraces stacking like a giant's wedding cake, each level a step closer to enlightenment. This isn't just architecture, it's a 3-dimensional meditation manual. Pilgrims don't enter Borobudur, they ascend it, tracing a spiraling path past 2,672 carved relief panels that unfold like the pages of a sacred comic book. Every inch whispers symbolism, the base, hidden beneath soil for centuries, its panels depict the murk of earthly desires. Scenes of slander, theft, and lust, warnings of karma's grip. Climb higher and the carvings shift. Jataka tales of Buddha's past lives, merchants crossing seas, kings learning humility. By the 5th terrace, the narratives vanish, replaced by Buddhas seated in niches, their hands forming mudras that guide devotees inward. The crowning 3 circular platforms hold 72 perforated stupas, each cradling a statue of Buddha, visible only through diamond-shaped gaps teasing the mind toward revelation. At the very top, an empty central stupa, no carvings, no idols, just space, echoing the Buddhist concept of sunyata, the void where all distinctions dissolve. But Borobudur's greatest riddle isn't its design, it's its abandonment. Built in the 9th century under the Sailendra dynasty, this colossal project vanished from records by the 14th century, buried under layers of volcanic ash from Mount Merapi. Was it catastrophe, a shift in royal patronage toward Hinduism, or something stranger? Local folklore speaks of a curse, a ruler who tried to move the temple's foundation stone, unleashing illness and crop failure until work stopped. Modern archaeologists note something eerie. Borobudur lacks the usual drainage systems of Javanese temples, as if its builders never expected it to endure the monsoons. Then came the rediscovery in 1814, when British colonial officer Thomas Stamford Raffles, alerted by rumors of a mountain of statues, sent a team to hack through centuries of jungle and ash. What they uncovered was a time capsule not just of Buddhism but of a lost cultural fusion. The reliefs show Indian-style ships docked at Javanese ports, musicians playing instruments still used in Bali today, even whimsical touches like an elephant kicking a mischievous monkey. Today, Borobudur still breathes mystery. At dawn, when fog swirls around its stupas, visitors report hearing faint bell-like tones, perhaps wind through the perforated stone or something older. Recent scans reveal hidden chambers beneath the temple, untouched for a millennium. And every Vesak, thousands of Buddhists circle its terraces by candlelight, retracing steps first laid 1,200 years ago. The stones seem to whisper, enlightenment isn't a destination, but the act of climbing itself. On the marshy plains of ancient Ephesus, where the Casta River once met the sea, stood a temple so magnificent its destruction was considered an omen of doom. The Temple of Artemis, a monument of marble and myth that dazzled the ancient world. Built and rebuilt no fewer than 3 times, this wonder wasn't just a shrine. It was a declaration of human devotion, its columns studded with jewels and its altars heaped with offerings from kings and commoners alike. Greek poet Antipater of Sidon, who saw all 7 wonders, ranked it above the pyramids, declaring, "When I saw the sacred house of Artemis reaching the clouds, the others were placed in the shade." The original temple, completed around 550 before the Common Era, was a feat of engineering. 127 60-foot columns, each gifted by a different king. Inside, the cult statue of Artemis wasn't the graceful huntress of Greek myth, but a blackened, many-breasted figure draped in animals and celestial symbols, reflecting her ancient Near Eastern roots as a mother goddess. Pilgrims flocked here seeking healing, fertility, or protection, leaving tiny silver statues as votives. One legend tells of a woman who bribed priests to let her sleep in the inner sanctum, hoping Artemis would cure her infertility, only to wake surrounded by snakes, an omen that later proved auspicious. Then came the fire. In 356 BCE, a man named Herostratus torched the temple, allegedly to immortalize his name. The same night, Alexander the Great was born, prompting the historian Plutarch to muse that Artemis was too busy overseeing the birth of a conqueror to save her own house. The Ephesians rebuilt it even grander, with steps leading to a platform to guard against floods, and paintings by famed artists like Apelles. This version stood for 6 centuries until Goths sacked it in 263 of the Common Era. What's haunting is how thoroughly the temple vanished. Crusaders used its marble for fortresses. Stones became grinders in Ottoman mills. Today, a single reconstructed column marks the site, but peer into the excavation pits and you'll find fragments of the temple's glory: a carved Amazon's foot, a column drum etched with mason's marks. Archaeologists even uncovered a stash of 2,000-year-old seeds, likely offerings from women praying for children. The Temple of Artemis endures not in stone, but in whispers, of priestesses who tended its eternal flame, of merchants haggling in its shadow, of a city that staked its pride on a goddess who never quite left. Perched on a knife-edge ridge in the Andes, 2,400 meters above the Urubamba River, Machu Picchu's Temple of the Sun is a masterclass in stonework so precise, not even a blade of grass can slip between its joints. Unlike the rough-hewn walls of other Inca sites, this semicircular tower is built with stones cut at impossible angles, each one locked together like a 3-dimensional puzzle. No mortar, no gaps, just sheer geometric perfection. The lower chamber, believed to be a royal mausoleum, features a natural rock formation carved into an altar where summer solstice sunlight pierces a single window to illuminate the sacred stone. Upstairs, 2 trapezoidal windows align with the rising sun during the June and December solstices, turning the entire structure into a celestial calendar. But here's the twist: the Incas didn't just build on the mountain, they built with it. The temple's curvature mirrors the peak of Huayna Picchu behind it, blending architecture and nature into a single act of worship. Machu Picchu was never truly lost. While Spanish conquistadors overlooked it during their raids, local Quechua farmers always knew of its existence. The myth of its discovery by Hiram Bingham in 1911 crumbles under scrutiny. His expedition was guided by a local boy named Melchor Artiga, and farmers were already cultivating its terraces. What's more fascinating is why the Inca chose this improbable location. Far from a royal retreat, new research suggests it was a sacred nexus where the Earth's energy lines converged. The Urubamba River wraps around the site in a perfect celestial serpent shape, mirroring the Milky Way as the Incas saw it. Underground springs channel water through precisely placed stone channels, creating a hydraulic symphony still audible today. The Temple of the Sun holds its darkest secret beneath the altar, a subterranean chamber dubbed the Royal Tomb, though no human remains were found. Instead, archaeologists uncovered offerings: spondylus shells from Ecuador, rare feathers from the Amazon, proof of Machu Picchu's role as a pilgrimage site connecting distant corners of the empire. The walls here hum with acoustics designed to amplify ritual chants, a detail that makes modern visitors whisper instinctively. And then there's the shadow play. During equinoxes, sunlight slants through the temple's windows to cast jagged patterns resembling the Incas' sacred mountain peaks onto the interior walls. Isolation was the point, accessible only by a treacherous mountain trail or the Inca Bridge, a removable log span over a sheer cliff. This wasn't a city but a sanctuary. The terraces weren't just for crops, they stabilized the slopes during earthquakes, a design so effective that 5 centuries of tremors haven't dislodged a single stone. Even the staircases were engineered with varying heights to force pilgrims to ascend with deliberate slowness, transforming the climb into meditation. Machu Picchu's true genius lies in its contradictions, a place both hidden and exalted where the heavens touch the earth and every stone still sings with the intent of its builders. Just a 2-mile procession away from the overwhelming grandeur of Karnak lies Luxor Temple, a sleeker, more intimate counterpart where the divine and the mortal intertwined during ancient Egypt's most spectacular festival. Where Karnak overwhelms with scale, Luxor enchants with precision, its symmetry so flawless that even Napoleon's surveyors used it as a benchmark for their maps. But this temple's true magic unfolded once a year when the Opet festival transformed its courtyards into a stage for the cosmos itself. Picture the scene, the Nile at flood stage, its waters swollen with fertility, as priests carried the golden bark of Amun-Ra from Karnak down the Avenue of Sphinxes, a 2.5-mile gauntlet of 1,300 statues, their lion bodies and ram heads symbolizing the god's protective might. For 24 days, the route pulsed with drumbeats and incense, dancers twirling in ecstatic spirals while pharaohs believed to be gods incarnate performed secret rites within Luxor's inner sanctum. These rituals weren't mere theater, they were cosmic maintenance, rejuvenating Amun-Ra's life force and, by extension, all of Egypt. The temple's walls still bear the graffiti of ancient pilgrims' names scratched in hieratic script, prayers for healing, even a crude drawing of a grinning sphinx by some long-gone traveler. Then came Alexander the Great, who stormed Egypt not as a conqueror but a liberator in 332 before the Common Era. Recognizing Luxor's political power, he commandeered its sacred birth room, where pharaohs were mythically conceived by Amun, and had his own face carved into reliefs as the temple's divine patron. The audacity, yet the priests played along, pragmatically blending Macedonian rule into the old theology. Alexander's additions are eerily perfect. You'd never spot the edits unless you knew to look for his distinctive curly hair under the traditional Nemes headdress. Centuries later, the Romans turned Luxor into a fortified camp, painting over hieroglyphs with portraits of emperors and building a shrine to the imperial cult right in the hypostyle hall. They even converted part of the temple into a chapel for the Roman garrison, a jarring fusion of gods where legionaries left offerings to Serapis beside Ammon's altar. The most surreal artifact, a 4th-century Christian fresco of the Madonna tucked into a back chamber, proof of the temple's endless adaptability. What makes Luxor extraordinary isn't just its layers of history but its continuity. Unlike Karnak's chaotic accumulation, Luxor feels intentional, a single vision refined across millennia. At night, when spotlights illuminate its columns, the shadows cast by Ramses' Roman II colossal statues stretch and shift like living beings. It's as if the temple itself remembers every hand that shaped it, from the architects of the New Kingdom to the Roman soldiers who scratched dice games into its walls. Here, the past doesn't whisper, it lingers. In the heart of Beijing, where ancient China's cosmic order took physical form, the Temple of Heaven emerges like a celestial blueprint, a Ming Dynasty masterpiece where emperors spoke directly to the heavens. Built in 1420 during Emperor Yongl's reign, this sprawling complex wasn't just a temple. It was the stage for the Son of Heaven's most sacred duty, ensuring bountiful harvests for his people. Every winter solstice, the emperor would lead a silent procession through the pre-dawn darkness, his robes heavy with symbolism, to the hall of prayer for good harvests. This triple-gabled circular pavilion, with its blue-tiled roof representing the sky, stood on a 3-tiered marble terrace mirroring heaven, earth, and mankind. The ritual that followed was a high-stakes performance. Any misstep in the emperor's movements or offerings might spell drought or famine for the coming year. But the temple's genius isn't just in its rituals. Step into the imperial vault of heaven, and you'll encounter the echo wall, a circular barrier so perfectly engineered that whispers travel clear as bells along its curve. Two people standing at opposite ends can speak in hushed tones and hear each other as if face to face, a feat the Ming architects achieved by aligning the wall's bricks with mathematical precision. Even more mesmerizing is the triple sound stone. Stand on the first slab in front of the vault steps and clap once, and the echo returns as a single clear report. Move to the second stone and the sound splits into a dual reply. The third stone, three distinct echoes ping back, an acoustic puzzle modern physicists attribute to the precise spacing of the temple's buildings. The Temple of Heaven's geometry whispers of a universe in perfect balance. Its square outer walls symbolize the earth, while the circular inner structures embody the heavens, reflecting the ancient Chinese belief in a harmonious cosmos. The complex aligns precisely along a north-south axis, with the hall of prayer positioned to intersect celestial energy lines. Even the number of steps leading to each building holds meaning multiples of 9, the imperial digit representing the emperor's divine connection. UNESCO recognized this architectural symphony in 1998, but the temple's true magic lingers in its details. The Hall of Prayer's massive wooden pillars were originally fastened without nails, using a complex system of interlocking brackets that flexed during earthquakes. The ceilings, painted golden dragons, still coil with such dynamism, you'd swear they might take flight. And hidden beneath the altar of heaven's open-air platform lies a secret. The round stone at its center, called the Heart of Heaven, amplifies voices when stood upon, making the emperor's prayers resonate as if the sky itself were listening. Today, as Tai Chi practitioners move through dawn's golden light beneath its eaves, the Temple of Heaven remains what it always was, a bridge between realms, where human ingenuity reached for the divine and left behind whispers that still echo through time. Rising from Malta's sun-scorched limestone plateau, the temples of Haga Kim stand as a riddle carved in stone, a 5,000-year-old enigma that predates the pyramids by a millennium. These aren't just stacked rocks, they're a labyrinth of oval chambers and towering megaliths, some weighing over 20 tons, fitted together with joints so tight you couldn't slip a credit card between them. And here's the kicker: the people who built this marvel had no metal tools, no wheels, not even written language. How did they do it? The answer lies in patience and ingenuity. Using nothing but stone mallets and obsidian scrapers, they shaped the local Globigerina limestone, a rock so soft it can be carved with flint, yet durable enough to withstand millennia of Mediterranean storms. Step inside the temple's main entrance at dawn on the summer solstice, and you'll witness magic. Sunlight pierces through an elliptical hole known as the oracle aperture, casting a blade of light that creeps precisely across a stone slab marked with spiral carvings. This wasn't random, it was a celestial calendar, signaling the year's longest day to a culture that worshipped the sun cycles. But Haga Kim's astronomical genius doesn't stop there. A smaller, lesser-known aperture aligns with the winter solstice sunset, while another channels the equinox light to illuminate a niche where statues once stood. These people didn't just track time, they wove it into their sacred architecture. Then there are the statues, those iconic fat ladies that archaeologists politely call the mother goddess figures. These voluptuous stone figures, with their exaggerated hips and folded arms, were once dismissed as fertility symbols, but recent theories suggest they might represent something far more profound. Found broken and buried in temple niches, some scholars believe they were ritually killed to release spiritual energy, much like later cultures would smash pottery in funeral rites. The largest of these figures, now housed in Malta's National Museum, towers over 7 feet tall, proof that worship here wasn't modest or meek. What's haunting about Haga Kim is how abruptly its builders vanished. By 2500 before the Common Era, the temples lay abandoned, their creators leaving behind no battle scars, no signs of invasion, just silence. Climate studies hint at a possible drought, but the truth is murkier. Modern visitors often report an eerie resonance in the temple's central chamber, where whispers seem to amplify mysteriously. Scientists attribute it to the acoustics of the corbelled ceiling, but locals swear it's the voices of the giants who, according to folklore, built these temples in a single night. Standing here, running your fingers over sun-warmed stones etched with spiral motifs found nowhere else in the Mediterranean, you realize Haga Kim isn't just a relic. It's a cipher, a testament to a civilization that carved its faith into the very bones of the earth, then disappeared into the shadows of history, leaving us to wonder what secrets they took with them. In the dense jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, where the air hums with the whispers of ancient gods, the temple of Kukulkan rises like a stairway to the stars. This 90-foot stepped pyramid isn't just the crown jewel of Chichen Itza, it's a cosmic clock carved in limestone, a masterpiece of Mayan astronomy and sacred geometry. But what makes it extraordinary isn't just its towering presence. It's the way the entire structure comes alive during the equinoxes, when shadows slither down its northern staircase like a serpent descending from the heavens. The phenomenon is no accident. Each of the pyramid's 4 sides has 91 steps, totaling 364 when combined with the shared platform at the top, 1 step for every day of the solar year. But the true magic unfolds as the sun sets on March 21st or September 21st. The step terraces cast triangular shadows that merge with carved serpent heads at the base, creating the illusion of a feathered serpent, Kukulkan, slithering down to earth. This wasn't theater, it was divine choreography. The Maya carefully angled the pyramid's edges to align with the sun's path, turning stone into a celestial projector that announced the arrival of planting or harvest seasons. Then there's the pyramid's voice. Stand at the base of the northern staircase and clap your hands, and the sound ricochets off the steps in a chirping echo that mimics the cry of the sacred Quetzal bird, Kukulkan's avian counterpart. Scientists attribute this to the precise spacing of the steps acting as a sound filter, but to the Maya it was proof the god was listening, even more eerie. A whisper at the base of the pyramid's western staircase carries clearly to its summit, 200 feet away, a feature priests likely used to deliver seemingly disembodied prophecies. The cult of Kukulkan, the feathered serpent who brought knowledge and renewal, wasn't just spiritual, it was political. The pyramid anchors a larger complex that includes the Great Ball Court, where players reenacted the myth of the hero twins defeating the lords of the underworld. The acoustics here are so precise that a word spoken softly at one end travels the length of a football field to the other, a trick that may have amplified the drama of ritual games. Nearby, the Tzompantli, or skull platform, reminds us that this was also a place of sacrifice where the Maya blurred the line between life and death to keep the cosmos in balance. What's haunting is how the pyramid encodes Mayan cosmology in 3 dimensions. Its 9 terraces mirror the 9 levels of Xibalba, the underworld, while the temple at its summit represents the 13th heaven. Alignments with nearby structures mark Venus's 8-year cycle, sacred to Kukulkan. Even the pyramid's shadow at noon during the zenith passage, when the sun stands directly overhead, traces a perfect circle around its base, symbolizing the union of earth and sky. Today, as tourists crane their necks to watch the serpent's shadow writhe down the pyramid, they're witnessing more than an ancient light show. They're seeing the moment when time, architecture, and faith collide, a testament to a civilization that didn't just observe the heavens, but wove them into the very stones beneath their feet. Carved directly into the cliffs of southern Egypt, the twin temples of Abu Simbel stand as a monumental ode to ego and divinity, 65 feet tall, with Ramses II's stone gaze fixed eternally across Lake Nasser. This wasn't just a temple, it was a propaganda masterstroke, a declaration of power so audacious that 3,000 years later, engineers would move the entire mountainside to preserve it. 4 colossal statues of Ramses, each as tall as a 5-story building, flank the entrance, their chiseled faces betraying not a hint of doubt. The message was clear: here was a pharaoh who considered himself peerless among kings and kin to the gods. Step inside and the illusion deepens. The inner sanctum stretches 185 feet into the rock, its walls lined with reliefs of Ramses smiting Hittite chariots at the Battle of Kadesh, a conflict he arguably drew but immortalized as a solo victory. The deeper you go, the more the air hums with symbolism. The temple's axis aligns so precisely that on February 22nd and October 22nd, dates believed to mark Ramses' coronation and birth, the dawn sun pierces the hallway like a laser, illuminating statues of Ra-Horakhti, Amun-Ra, and a deified Ramses himself. Only Ptah, god of darkness, remains shadowed. This celestial light show wasn't just spectacle, it was theological theater, reinforcing Ramses' claim to cosmic authority. Then came the 20th century's greatest archaeological rescue mission, when the Aswan Dam's rising waters threatened to drown Abu Simbel in the 1960s. UNESCO launched a Herculean effort, slicing the temples into 1,046 blocks, each weighing up to 30 tons, and reassembling them 200 feet higher on an artificial mountain. The precision was staggering. Engineers even replicated the original solstice alignment within fractions of an inch. Today, visiting Abu Simbel feels like stepping into a time capsule twice over, witnessing both ancient ingenuity and modern devotion to preserving it. What's haunting is how Ramses' ego outlasted his empire. The smaller temple, dedicated to his beloved wife Nefertari, shows her statues at equal height to his, a rarity in Egyptian art. Yet even here, the reliefs depict her as Hathor, eternally bound to Ramses' divine narrative. The temple's relocation left one intentional scar, a vertical crack in the facade, a reminder of human fragility beneath the grandeur. At dawn, when sunlight washes over those impassive stone faces, you realize Abu Simbel was never just a temple. It was a pharaoh's bid to cheat time itself, and in a way, he succeeded. Perched on the windswept cliffs of Cape Saunion, where the Aegean crashes against razor-sharp rocks, the Temple of Poseidon isn't just a ruin, it's a sentinel. Built in 444 before the Common Era, this Doric masterpiece stares down the horizon with 16 of its original 34 columns still standing, their honey-colored marble glowing like embers at sunset. Ancient sailors knew this view well. Spotting these pillars from their ships meant they'd survived the treacherous Cyclade storms and were nearly home. That's why they came here, to thank Poseidon, god of the sea, or more likely, to beg his mercy. The temple breathes mythology. This is where King Aegeus, watching for his son Theseus's ship after the Minotaur battle, saw black sails raised by mistake and leapt to his death, giving the Aegean its name. The irony, Poseidon's temple overlooks the very waters that swallowed a king who defied him. But the real magic lies in the details. Run your fingers along the base of the northeast column, and you'll feel the grooves of Lord Byron's graffiti, his name carved during his 1810 Grand Tour, a cheeky act of vandalism that immortalized the Romantic poet alongside ancient offerings. Maritime rituals here were anything but serene. Priests sacrificed bulls by hurling them into the raging surf below, a brutal offering to calm the god's temper. The temple's east-facing altar caught the first dawn light, a signal to fishermen that the seas were safe, and hidden beneath the floor, a network of cisterns holding seawater, believed to channel Poseidon's power directly into the sanctuary. By night, the temple transforms. The full moon silhouettes the columns against the sky, casting shadows that stretch like tridents across the cliff. Modern visitors still leave coins at the base of the fallen columns, not for Poseidon, perhaps, but to the same capricious sea that hasn't grown any tamer. Standing here with salt spray stinging your face, you understand why the Greeks built temples not just in cities, but at the edge of the world, where humanity meets the divine, and the waves still whisper the god's reply. Amidst the sea of Thailand's gold-leafed temples, Wat Rong Khun erupts like a mirage, an alabaster wonderland where traditional Buddhist architecture collides with fever dream surrealism. Known as the White Temple, this contemporary masterpiece isn't some relic of antiquity. It was conceived in 1997 by eccentric artist Chalamchai Kosatpipat, who poured his personal fortune into creating a sanctuary that would jolt modern souls awake. Where ancient temples whisper of the past, Wat Rong Kun screams into the present, its blinding white facade symbolizing purity, its mirrored mosaics catching the sunlight like fractured enlightenment. Step closer and the contradictions multiply. The bridge to the main Ubasot isn't flanked by serene Naga serpents, but by outstretched hands rising from a pit of despair, some clutching skulls, others grasping at empty air, a visceral warning about desire's pitfalls. Cross over and you'll spot murals where Buddha meditates calmly amid explosions of pop culture. Neo from the Matrix floats in lotus position, Superman battles demons, even a predator alien lurks in the chaos. This isn't sacrilege, it's a deliberate provocation. Kosatpipat's vision dares to ask, can Buddhism speak to a world drowning in consumerism and digital noise? The temple's details reward the patient observer. Thousands of mirrored glass shards embedded in the plaster scatter light like fragmented wisdom, while sculptures of meditating monks float mid-air, their robes frozen in wind no one feels. Inside, golden murals twist traditional Jataka tales into modern parables. A drowning Titanic represents attachment, while flames engulfing skyscrapers mirror the Buddha's teachings on impermanence. Even the restrooms, a gilded building shaped like a palace, mock humanity's obsession with luxury. Yet for all its avant-garde audacity, Wat Rong Kun remains deeply reverent. The artist insists it's a sacred space first, refusing donations over 10,000 baht to avoid corruption. Construction is ongoing, a lifelong project Kosatpip admits may take 60 more years, creating an odd harmony with the slow, devotional pace of ancient temples. Unlike the ruins we've explored, this one pulses with living intent, its cracks repaired as they appear, its message evolving with each decade. At dusk, when the white plaster glows pink under the setting sun, Wat Rong Kun feels both timeless and urgently modern, a temple not just for worship but for awakening. It challenges visitors to see Buddhism not as a relic behind glass, but as a lens sharp enough to cut through the chaos of the 21st century. Rising from the Nile's western bank like a sandstone mirage, the Temple of Horus at Edfu stands as one of Egypt's most pristine time capsules, a monument so intact you half expect to find fresh incense smoldering in its halls. Built between 237 and 57 before the Common Era under the Ptolemaic dynasty, this sprawling complex bucks the trend of pharaonic ruins. Its roof still shelters corridors from the desert sun, its hieroglyphs retain their original cobalt and ochre pigments, and its towering pylon gates, 118 feet tall, bear scars from the ropes used to hoist ceremonial banners 3 centuries before Christ walked the earth. Step through the grand entrance and the walls erupt with drama. Here, carved in stone sharper than a scribe's finest papyrus, unfolds the eternal battle between Horus, the falcon-headed sky god, and his uncle Set, the chaos deity who murdered Horus's father Osiris. One relief shows Horus spearing a hippopotamus, the animal incarnation of Set, while another captures the moment Thoth, god of wisdom, measures the victor's legitimacy with celestial scales. These aren't just myths, they're political propaganda. The Ptolemies, Greek rulers desperate to legitimize their reign over Egypt, bankrolled this temple to align themselves with Horus's triumph over disorder. Even the Festival of the Beautiful Reunion, depicted in vivid procession scenes, served a purpose. Each year, a statue of Horus sailed 30 miles to rendezvous with his consort Hathor at Dendra, a divine marriage mirroring the Ptolemies' own dynastic alliances. But Edfu's genius lies in its blueprint. Archaeologists call it the Rosetta Stone of temple design because its walls literally include blueprints, carved construction manuals showing how to lay foundations, align access points, and consecrate shrines. These instructions influenced temples from Philat to Kam Ombo, standardizing features like the hypostyle hall's forest of columns and the innermost sanctuary's elevated floor, symbolizing the primordial mound of creation. The sanctuary itself still holds the granite naos, a shrine within a shrine where priests once bathed Horus's statue in natron salt and dressed it in linen robes. What's haunting is how Edfu preserves not just stone but sound. The festival hymns carved into its walls have been deciphered into musical notation, revealing melodies last heard when Cleopatra ruled. And deep in the temple's crypts, accessible only by hidden staircases, you'll find the most telling detail of all, a relief of the sacred bark, Horus's portable shrine, resting on a sledge. This exact design was found millennia later in Tutankhamun's tomb, proving traditions here spanned eras. Today, as sunlight filters through the roof's strategically placed apertures illuminating the god's statue precisely on his birthday, Edfu whispers a truth often lost in Egypt's grander ruins. Preservation isn't about freezing time, but about leaving the door ajar for those who follow to step inside. Tucked within the lush highlands of Kandy, Sri Lanka, the Temple of the Sacred Tooth relic isn't just a shrine, it's the beating heart of Theravada Buddhism, a place where whispers of devotion have echoed for 17 centuries. At its core lies a golden casket no larger than a child's fist, said to hold Buddha's left canine tooth, snatched from his funeral pyre in 543 before the Common Era and smuggled to Sri Lanka hidden in a princess's hair ornament. Wars have been fought over this relic, kingdoms have risen and fallen for its custody, and even today, its presence transforms the temple into a living fortress. Guards in crisp white uniforms stand watch beside intricately carved wooden doors, while layers of gold-roofed pavilions, masterpieces of Kandyan architecture, rise around it like concentric rings of protection. The temple's octagonal pathirapua, added in the 1800s, isn't just decorative. Its design deflects evil spirits with every angle. 3 times a day, the relic chamber's heavy silver doors swing open for the Tevava ritual. Monks chant ancient Pali verses as offerings of jasmine and frangipani pile up beneath murals depicting the tooth's perilous journey across the Indian Ocean. The air thickens with the scent of sandalwood and drumbeats from the adjoining palace complex where Kandyan kings once ruled in the relic's shadow. What's fascinating isn't just the relic's spiritual weight but its political legacy. For centuries, possessing it legitimized rulers who else but the worthy could guard the Buddha's essence. Even the British, after annexing Kandy in 1815, paraded the tooth through the streets to pacify the masses. Then comes July, when the temple erupts into the Izola Perahara, one of Earth's most dazzling festivals. For 10 nights, the streets become a river of fire. Elephants draped in crimson velvet and a million tiny lights carry golden replicas of the relic, their footsteps synchronized to the rhythmic thud of Gatabara drums. Dancers whirl with flaming torches, their costumes stitched with silver threads that catch the moonlight, while acrobats reenact tales from the Jataka stories on swaying poles. The grand finale, the Randoli Perahara, where the chief elephant, a tusker bearing the temple's banner, walks atop a carpet of burning coconut husks, his every step blessed by the relic's unseen power. But the real magic lies in the contradictions. This temple, built to house a fragment of Buddha, a teacher who rejected materialism, glitters with gem-encrusted gifts from devotees. Its relic, never displayed openly, draws millions who find faith in its absence. And in a twist worthy of legend, when scientists were finally allowed to examine the golden casket in 1987, they found not a tooth but a bundle of small bones, proof that the relic's true power lies not in its form, but in the centuries of unwavering belief it inspires. At dawn, when monks wash the relic's outer casket with water scented with rare flowers, the temple seems to hum with a truth beyond history. Sometimes the most sacred things are those we choose to believe in, fiercely and without proof. In the heart of Rome, where modern life buzzes around ruins like bees around an ancient hive, the Pantheon stands untouched by time, a 2,000-year-old puzzle wrapped in travertine and crowned with the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built. Step inside, and the first thing you'll notice isn't the grandeur, but the light. That famous oculus, a 30-foot circular opening at the dome's peak, cuts a perfect blade of sunlight that creeps across the coffered ceiling like a celestial sundial, illuminating niches where statues of Olympian gods once stood. Rain falls through it too, channeled by nearly invisible slopes in the marble floor, a reminder that this temple was designed to embrace the heavens in all their moods. The dome itself defies logic. 6 million pounds of concrete, mixed with volcanic ash to lighten the load, rise in layers that grow thinner and less dense as they climb, from 23 feet thick at the base to just 2 feet near the oculus. The secret: the builders embedded hollow clay pots and pumice stone in the upper layers, reducing weight without sacrificing strength. Even more ingenious, the coffers, those recessed squares lining the ceiling, aren't just decorative. They act like the dimples on a golf ball, redistributing stress across the dome's surface. Modern engineers still can't replicate this exact recipe. The concrete here has outlasted skyscrapers. But the Pantheon's biggest myth isn't about how it was built, it's about why. Most assume it was always a temple to all the gods, as its Greek name suggests. The truth is messier. Originally commissioned by Marcus Agrippa in 27 before the Common Era, the first Pantheon burned down. The version we see today was rebuilt by Emperor Hadrian around 126 of the Common Era, and he never inscribed his name on it, leaving only Agrippa's original plaque, a humble gesture from Rome's most megalomaniacal builder. Some scholars argue Hadrian reimagined the space as a temple to celestial power itself, aligned so the equinox sun would spotlight the entrance at noon, bathing emperors in divine radiance during appearances. Others whisper it doubled as an imperial audience hall where the dome's acoustics made even a whisper sound godlike. The Pantheon's survival is its own miracle. While looters stripped marble from the Colosseum and the Forum crumbled, this building endured because it became a church, Santa Maria ad Martyrs in 609. The consecration saved its structure but erased traces of its original rituals. Only hints remain: the 7 niches that once held planetary deities, the orientation toward the mausoleum of Augustus, the fact that April 21st, Rome's founding date, sees the midday sun perfectly frame the doorway. Today, as tourists crane their necks to watch rain or rose petals spiral through the oculus, they're participating in a ritual as old as the building itself, a dialogue between earth and sky, human and divine. The Pantheon doesn't just challenge our ideas of ancient engineering, it asks us what perfection really means when a structure's flaws, that open roof, those uneven floor stones, are the very source of its immortality. Nestled within the Grand Palace complex in Bangkok, Wat Phra Ki, the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, gleams like a jeweled crown atop Thailand's spiritual legacy. But don't let the name fool you. The Emerald Buddha isn't emerald at all. Carved from a single block of translucent green jade, this 2-foot-tall icon sits serenely atop a golden altar, its diminutive size belying its colossal significance. Draped in seasonal robes, gold mesh for summer, a gem-studded cloak for winter, the statue's 3 ceremonial outfits are changed by none other than the king himself, a ritual reinforcing his role as both ruler and divine intermediary. Legend claims the statue brings prosperity to the land it resides in, which explains why wars were once waged over its possession. Discovered in 1434 inside a crumbling stupa in Chiang Rai, where it had been hidden under stucco to evade invaders, the Buddha's true material was revealed only when a lightning strike cracked its plaster casing, exposing the radiant jade beneath. The temple complex is a kaleidoscope of devotion. Every surface shimmers with intricate mosaics, tiny glass tiles arranged into celestial beings, lotus blossoms, and scenes from the Ramakien Thailand's national epic, painted in vibrant gold-leafed murals along the gallery walls. These murals aren't mere decoration, they're a sacred comic strip stretching over a mile, depicting the god King Rama's battle against the demon Tosakanth. Spot the scene where Hanuman, the monkey general, builds a bridge of stones that float, a clever nod to ancient engineering feats. Even the temple's guardians are fantastical. Towering yaksha demons, their jeweled eyes following visitors, stand sentinel at every gate, warding off malevolent spirits with curled sneers and raised clubs. At the heart of Wat Phra Kiu's magic is its role in coronations. New kings come here to anoint themselves with sacred water and swear oaths before the Emerald Buddha, a ceremony believed to channel divine legitimacy. The temple's architecture mirrors this sacred theater. The Ubosot, or ordination hall, sits on a marble platform higher than the surrounding buildings, symbolizing Mount Meru's peak. Its three-tiered roof, gilded with porcelain tiles, represents the trinity of Buddhism, while the 8 boundary stones encircling it mark the cosmic limits of the universe. And if you look closely at the base of the Buddha's pedestal, you'll find a hidden compartment where centuries of royal offerings, gold leaves, handwritten prayers, even strands of hair, have accumulated like whispers to the divine. What's astonishing is how Wat Phra Kiu balances grandeur with intimacy. Amidst the gold and glitter, devotees still kneel on cool marble floors, pressing their foreheads to the ground in quiet prayer. The air hums with the scent of frangipani and the soft chime of temple bells, a reminder that this isn't just a museum of the past, but a living, breathing sanctuary. When the sun sets and the mosaics catch fire in the twilight, the Emerald Buddha seems almost to smile, knowing it has watched over kingdoms rise and fall, yet remains unchanging in its gilded cage. Hidden beneath the dense Chiapas jungle, the Temple of the Inscriptions doesn't just dominate Palink's skyline, it guards a secret. This 9-tiered pyramid, built in the 7th century as the tomb of King Pakal the Great, is the only Mesoamerican pyramid constructed specifically as a funerary monument. Its name comes from the 3 massive stone tablets covered in hieroglyphs that line the inner chamber walls, 620 glyphs in total, forming the longest known Mayan inscription. But to reach them, you'd have to descend a narrow, corbel-vaulted staircase so steep and claustrophobic that early explorers turned back, convinced it led straight to the underworld. The real treasure lies 80 feet below the temple's summit. In 1952, archaeologist Alberto Ruslulia discovered Pakal's sarcophagus, an 11-ton lid of carved limestone depicting the king at the moment of death, falling backward into the jaws of the underworld while a sacred ceiba tree sprouts from his body, connecting earth, heaven, and Xibalba, the Mayan realm of the dead. The tomb's walls shimmer with stucco reliefs of the 9 lords of the night, their hollow eyes watching over jade-encrusted funeral masks and piles of sacrificial shells. But it's the sarcophagus lid that sparked a firestorm. When Swiss author Erich von Däniken saw the carving in the 1960s, he saw not a dying king, but an ancient astronaut Pakal reclining in what looked like a spacecraft, hands on controls, breathing apparatus on his face. The Palink astronaut became a cornerstone of ancient alien theories, but archaeologists have a simpler explanation. The imagery aligns perfectly with Mayan cosmology. Pakal's spacecraft is the world tree, his controls are the sun and moon, and the flames beneath him represent his descent into the watery underworld. The irony, the carving that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories was actually a roadmap to the afterlife, understood perfectly by the people who made it. What makes this temple revolutionary isn't just its art, it's its words. Before Palink's glyphs were deciphered in the 1970s, the Maya were considered peaceful stargazers. These inscriptions revealed a dynasty as cutthroat as any in Game of Thrones. We learned of Lady Sakkayuk, who ruled as regent until her son Pakal came of age, breaking gender taboos. We read of Pakal's 80-year reign, his military campaigns, even his penchant for chocolate. His tomb contained vessels stained with cacao residue. Most crucially, the inscriptions confirmed the Mayan long count calendar, allowing scholars to correlate their dates with our Gregorian system. Today, the Temple of the Inscriptions still whispers mysteries. LiDAR scans show potential hidden chambers beneath the pyramid, possibly holding more royalty. And those 3 famous tablets, we've only translated about half their text. Every year, epigraphers squeeze new meanings from the glyphs. Like the recent discovery that Pakal's tomb was actually opened once in antiquity, likely by his own descendants seeking counsel from the ancestor who defied death. Standing here where humid jungle air swirls through the temple's passages, you realize some codes aren't meant to be cracked, just contemplated one glyph at a time. In the fertile Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, where the air still carries the scent of ancient vineyards, the Temple of Bacchus stands as a monument to Roman extravagance and to mysteries that stump engineers even today. Larger than Athens' Parthenon, this 2nd century marvel was built not for a sober state god, but for the deity of wine, ecstasy, and theatrical masks, Bacchus, the Roman incarnation of Dionysus. Step through its towering 42 Corinthian columns, each 50 feet high and fluted with precision, and you'll find yourself in a sanctuary where every stone seems drunk on grandeur. The ceiling coffers drip with carved grapevines, the walls ripple with reliefs of maenads mid-dance, and the altar niche still bears traces of pigment from rituals that likely involved more revelry than reverence. But what truly staggers the mind isn't the temple's artistry, it's the logistics. The podium beneath it contains 3 limestone blocks weighing 800 tons each, hauled from a quarry a mile away. That's the equivalent of moving 2 fully loaded 747 jets across rocky terrain without wheels or cranes. Even more baffling, the quarry holds an even bigger stone, the famous Stone of the Pregnant Woman, left half-carved at nearly 1,200 tons. How did the Romans move these megaliths? Some theories suggest a system of wooden rollers and levered pulleys, while others propose they were slid on slickened clay tracks during the rainy season. The truth remains lost to time, wrapped in the same enigma as Egypt's pyramids. The temple's link to the cult of Dionysus adds another layer of intrigue. Unlike solemn state religions, Bacchic rites celebrated chaos and transformation. Worshippers drank wine until visions blurred the line between mortal and divine. The temple's orientation is telling. Its entrance faces east, not toward Rome but toward the sunrise, aligning with Dionysus's role as a god of rebirth. Hidden staircases suggest secret initiation rites, while underground chambers may have stored ritual wine. The most tantalizing clue, a carving of a child Dionysus holding grapes flanked by eagles, a nod to the legend that Zeus himself sewed the infant god into his thigh to protect him, much like wine fermenting in a vat. Time has been both cruel and kind to Bacchus's temple. Earthquakes toppled parts of its sister temple next door, the even larger, now ruined Temple of Jupiter, yet this sanctuary remains eerily intact. Crusaders used it as a fortress, Ottomans as a stockpile, but its columns still stand straight as vineyard stakes. At sunset, when golden light filters through the acanthus leaves of its capitals, you can almost hear the clink of goblets and the skirl of flutes, a ghostly symposium where the god of ecstasy still presides. The stones seem to whisper, some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only savored. Rising from the heart of Amritsar like a gilded dream, the golden temple shimmers on the waters of the Amrit Sarovar, a pool so still it's said to hold reflections of the divine. For Sikhs, this isn't just a place of worship, it's the soul of their faith where the earthly and eternal dissolve into harmony. The temple's upper floors blaze with 750 kilograms of pure gold, their domes curling like lotus petals toward the Punjab sky, while marble walkways etched with floral mosaics guide pilgrims from every corner of the world. But what truly defines this sanctuary isn't its opulence, it's the radical equality pulsing through its corridors. Step through the ornate Darshani Diohi gate, and you're immediately part of something larger. The sound of curtain, devotional hymns sung to the strum of the harmonium, drifts across the water as worshippers circle the temple clockwise, a living river of humanity. Beneath the gold lies a revolutionary blueprint, 4 entrances facing cardinal directions, a deliberate rejection of caste or creed. Kings and laborers alike must descend the same steps to enter, humbled by the water's touch. The Sarovar itself is no ordinary pool. Its waters are believed to carry blessings from Guru Ram Das, the 4th Sikh guru who envisioned this oasis in 1577. Devotees wade in waist-deep, their hands skimming the surface as if grasping for grace, while others fill bottles to carry its sanctity home. Then there's the langar. In the world's largest community kitchen, volunteers rich poor, Sikh, Hindu, Muslim peel mountains of onions, roll endless rounds of roti, and stir cauldrons of dal large enough to bathe in. Every day, 100,000 people eat here, seated shoulder to shoulder on marble floors, served by strangers who consider it an honor to kneel and offer nourishment. The meal is simple: flatbread, lentil stew, perhaps a sweet rice pudding, but the act is profound, a defiant proclamation that no one, regardless of status, eats alone. This tradition traces back to Guru Nanak, who insisted sharing food was the highest form of prayer. The temple's gold, added in the early 19th century by Maharaja Ranjit Singh, wasn't meant to dazzle but to protect, a symbolic armor for a faith that had endured persecution. Even the architecture whispers resilience. After the British bombed the complex in 1846, Sikhs painstakingly rebuilt it, embedding pieces of the shattered Akal Takht, the seat of Sikh authority, into its walls as a reminder: broken things can be made whole again. At dawn, when the first light ignites the gold and the Sarovar mirrors the sky, the Golden Temple becomes more than stone and metal. It's a living testament to a faith that dares to imagine a world where all are fed, all are equal, and the divine lives not above us but among us, in every hand that serves, every voice that sings, every reflection dancing on the water. Beneath the looming silhouette of Teotihuacan's Pyramid of the Sun, another masterpiece pulses with secrets: the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, a 6-tiered pyramid wrapped in stone coils and gaping serpent jaws. This isn't just a monument, it's a time capsule from a civilization so enigmatic we don't even know what they called themselves. Teotihuacan is the Aztec word for the place where gods were created, bestowed centuries after the city's mysterious collapse. But the true marvel lies beneath the pyramid's facade, where a labyrinth of tunnels snakes through the earth like the roots of some cosmic tree. In 2010, archaeologists wielding ground-penetrating radar uncovered a hidden chamber 60 feet below the temple, a cavernous space filled with liquid mercury, shimmering pools of the metal believed to symbolize the underworld's rivers. The tunnels themselves are no crude passageways. They're engineered masterpieces, their ceilings studded with pyrite mirrors to mimic stars, their walls powdered with hematite dust that would have glowed like embers in torchlight. At the heart of this subterranean maze, researchers found a grisly tableau: the skeletons of 200 warriors, their hands bound behind their backs, surrounded by necklaces of human jawbones. These weren't common captives. Their ornate jade earrings and finely crafted obsidian blades suggest they were elite fighters, perhaps rival nobles sacrificed in a single cataclysmic ceremony. The layers of the pyramid above them tell an even darker story. Every successive addition to the temple contained another mass grave, as if the building itself demanded blood mortar. Why such carnage? Without written records, the temple's carvings become our Rosetta Stone. The feathered serpent, known later to the Aztecs as Quetzalcoatl, slithers alongside a goggle-eyed storm god, their intertwined bodies forming a visual hymn to the duality of creation and destruction. The warriors' sacrifices might have been an attempt to appease these forces, a desperate bargain for rain, fertility, or military victory. Or perhaps the temple was a geopolitical statement. Teotihuacan's influence stretched from Guatemala to the American Southwest, and its rulers may have used these spectacles to terrify vassal states into submission. The greatest mystery isn't how they built this pyramid, but why they abandoned it. Around 550 of the Common Era, Teotihuacan's grand avenues emptied, its temples left to the elements. No invasion, no famine, just silence. Some speculate a peasant revolt torched the elite districts. Others point to climate change drying up the valley's lakes. The most haunting clue, in the temple's final days, someone carefully sealed the tunnels, scattering fragments of sacred mirrors and obsidian blades as if performing a ritual exorcism. Standing before those weathered stone serpents today, you're left with a chilling thought. Maybe they weren't worshipping gods, maybe they were trying to escape them. Just a stone's throw from the temple of Bacchus, the ruins of Baalbek's temple of Jupiter loom like the skeletal remains of a fallen titan. If Bacchus' sanctuary was a celebration of earthly pleasures, this colossal complex was a thunderclap of raw power, a statement so audacious its scale still defies belief. The Romans may have built the temple's upper levels, but its foundation rests on three monstrous blocks known as the trilithon, each weighing nearly 800 tons. These aren't merely big stones, they're geological absurdities, so precisely fitted that not even a razor blade could slip between their seams. The largest of them, abandoned in a nearby quarry, dwarfs them all, a 1,600-ton behemoth nicknamed the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, left mid-carving as if the builders themselves admitted defeat. Local folklore whispers that only giants could have moved these stones. Tales echoed in medieval Arab historians who claimed the site was built by the biblical Nimrod, who commanded jinn to stack the megaliths. Even the Romans, no strangers to megalomaniacal architecture, seemed awed by the platform they inherited, grafting their own grand temple to Jupiter atop it. The juxtaposition is staggering. Delicate Corinthian columns rising 65 feet high, their acanthus leaves fluttering in stone, all balanced on a base that looks like it was assembled by mythological beings. Archaeologists have their own theories. Some suggest the stones were slid on log rollers lubricated with olive oil, while others propose a system of counterweighted levers. But the real mystery isn't just how they were moved, it's why. Baalbek sits on no major trade route, near no precious resources. Perhaps its power was purely symbolic, a podium meant to elevate priests or gods literally closer to the heavens. The temple's alignment mirrors celestial patterns, with solstice sunlight striking specific altar niches. Today, the ruins hum with paradox. The remaining 6 columns of Jupiter's temple stand defiant against earthquakes and wars, while the trilithon stones remain immovable, as if still waiting for their creators to return and finish the job. Standing here, dwarfed by masonry that mocks the limits of human capability, you're left wondering, were the giants of legend just metaphors for ambition, or did some ancient civilization possess secrets we've yet to rediscover? In the heart of Cusco, where the Andes rise like a fortress around the former Inca capital, the Coricancha temple gleamed as the empire's most sacred jewel, a place where walls literally shimmered. Before Spanish conquistadors stripped its surfaces bare, this temple of the sun was sheathed in 700 solid gold plates, each reflecting sunlight so brilliantly that chroniclers claimed the entire complex glowed like a second sun. The inner courtyard held life-size golden statues of llamas, cornstalks, and even a giant sun disk positioned to catch the dawn's first rays and scatter light across a throne where the Sapa Inca, believed to be the sun god Inti's mortal incarnation, would sit bathed in radiance. But Coricancha wasn't just a treasure vault, it was a celestial calculator. The Inca engineered its trapezoidal niches and precisely angled windows to frame the solstice sunbeams, casting shadows that slithered like serpents along designated grooves to mark planting seasons and sacred dates. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they didn't just loot Coricancha, they built atop its bones, grafting the Santo Domingo convent onto its flawless ashlar walls. The juxtaposition is jarring. Baroque frescoes of saints floating above stonework so precise that mortar wasn't needed, the blocks locked together like a three-dimensional puzzle. The convent's architects left one section of the original temple exposed as a humiliation wall, a proof of their supposed triumph over pagan civilization. Yet the Inca masonry outlasted the Spanish additions. When earthquakes toppled the convent's arches in 1650 and 1950, Coricancha's foundations stood unshaken, as if the earth itself refused to break what the sun god had ordained. Beneath the complex, a web of tunnels still whispers of Coricancha's greater purpose. Recent excavations revealed channels that once funneled liquid gold during ceremonies, a river of sunlight in physical form, while underground chambers aligned with the June solstice sunrise suggest initiation rites. The temple anchored Cusco's sacred sex system, 41 invisible energy lines radiating toward shrines across the empire, each marking water sources, astronomical events, or boundaries. Modern astronomers confirm the lines mirror Orion's belt's trajectory, proving the Inca didn't just worship the sky, they mapped it onto Earth. What's haunting is how Coricancha's legacy lives in fragments. After the gold vanished, the sun disk was smuggled to a secret location, likely melted down, though some insist it lies hidden in the Andes. The convent's museum displays a single surviving gold cornstalk, its kernels so lifelike they seem ready to sprout. And every June 21st, a phenomenon the Spanish never erased unfolds. Sunlight pierces a remaining temple window, striking a spot on the floor where the Inca once placed offerings. The stones remember what history tried to erase. Just beyond the shadow of Chichen Itza's Great Pyramid, another marvel rises, the Temple of the Warriors, where a forest of stone columns stretches toward the sky like petrified sentinels. At first glance, it might seem like a ruin frozen in time, but step closer and you'll uncover a story of conquest, ritual, and cultural fusion that reshaped the Maya world. The temple's imposing stepped pyramid, crowned with a carving of the feathered serpent Kukulkan, mirrors the militaristic style of the Toltecs, a civilization from central Mexico whose influence swept through Yucatan like a storm. What makes this temple extraordinary isn't just its scale, but its storytelling. The so-called Group of the Thousand Columns isn't merely decorative. It once formed a vast colonnaded hall, its pillars carved with warriors in Toltec armor, their plumed headdresses and atlatls spear throwers marking them as foreign conquerors. These weren't just invaders, they were missionaries of a new cult. The Toltecs brought with them the worship of Quetzalcoatl, their version of Kukulkan, and the temple became a stage for rituals blending Maya and Toltec traditions. At its heart lies the enigmatic Chacmul statue, a reclining figure holding a bowl over its belly, its gaze fixed on the horizon. Some scholars believe these figures served as sacrificial altars. Their bowls likely held offerings of pulque, jade, or even human hearts, consumed by the gods in ceremonies that blurred the line between life and death. The temple's layout whispers of celestial symbolism. Its columns align with Venus's movements, while the pyramid stairway points toward the rising sun on the summer solstice. But the most haunting detail lies beneath, a buried earlier temple discovered when archaeologists noticed the current structure's odd proportions. Inside, they found murals of Maya traders meeting Toltec warriors, their interactions painted in vivid hues of red and blue, a snapshot of the moment two civilizations collided and merged. Today, as sunlight filters through the columns, casting lattice-like shadows on the worn stones, the Temple of the Warriors feels less like a relic and more like a bridge between earth and sky, between Maya ingenuity and Toltec might, between the living and the divine. It reminds us that even in conquest there's creation, and that the most enduring monuments are those that dare to evolve. Perched on the edge of a dramatic cliff in Tivoli, where the Anine River crashes into waterfalls below, the Temple of the Sibyl seems to hover between earth and sky. This circular sanctuary, with its delicate Corinthian columns framing a panoramic view of Rome in the distance, isn't just another picturesque ruin. It's a love letter to prophecy, power, and the architects who couldn't resist stealing its design. Built in the 2nd century before the Common Era, the temple's round form was a rarity in the ancient world, echoing the sacred tholos structures of Greece but with a distinctly Roman flair. Its location wasn't accidental. This windswept perch was believed to be a portal where the Sibyl, a seer who channeled Apollo's cryptic visions, whispered her oracles. Pilgrims would climb the steep path to consult her, their offerings of gold and wine left in exchange for glimpses of a future as uncertain as the temple's own fate. The Sibyl's lore runs deep. Unlike the famous oracle at Delphi who spoke in riddles, the Tibetan Sibyl was said to deliver her prophecies through 9 books, 3 of which were famously burned by Rome's last king, leaving only fragments that later influenced Virgil's Aeneid. The temple's circular design may have mirrored her cosmic visions with no beginning or end, much like time itself. But what truly cemented its legacy wasn't the Sibyl's voice, it was the building's aesthetic genius. Renaissance architects like Bramante and Palladio sketched its proportions obsessively, replicating its perfect symmetry in churches and villas across Italy. You can see its DNA in Rome's Tempietto, even in the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, proof that inspiration outlasts empires. Just a short walk away lies Hadrian's Villa, a sprawling imperial retreat where the emperor recreated his favorite sites from across the ancient world. The juxtaposition is telling. Where Hadrian built a fantasy of global conquest, the Temple of the Sibyl stood as a reminder that even emperors couldn't control fate. Today, as golden light filters through its columns at dusk, casting long shadows over the valley, the temple feels like a pause between breaths, a place where the past's whispers still rustle in the leaves, waiting for someone to listen. Barely half a mile from the imposing Huaca del Sol, its sister temple Huaca de la Luna crouches in the Peruvian desert like a painted sentinel guarding ancient horrors. Where the Temple of the Sun served as the Moche civilization's administrative powerhouse, this smaller but far more intricate complex was their sacred slaughterhouse, a canvas of blood and artistry where priests communed with gods through acts of calculated brutality. The contrast couldn't be starker. While the Sun Temple's adobe bricks bear only the fingerprints of laborers, the Moon Temple's walls seethe with polychrome murals depicting Aiapik, the decapitator god, his fanged mouth stretched wide as he clutches a Tumi knife in one hand and a severed head in the other. This deity wasn't merely feared, he was the axis around which Moche cosmology spun, a shape-shifting being who demanded sacrifice to ensure fertile crops and cosmic balance. Step into the ceremonial plaza, and the stones themselves confess their past. Archaeologists found the skeletons of 70 sacrificed warriors here, their bones arranged in precise geometric patterns. Forensic analysis revealed their throats were slit in unison, their blood funneled into channels leading to the altar. Some skulls show signs of prolonged torture, blunt force trauma, suggesting they were kept alive for days before the final cut. But what chills the spine isn't the violence, it's the ritual precision. These weren't random captives. Dental analysis proves they were elite fighters from rival valleys, their teeth inlaid with precious pyrite, their bodies painted with cinnabar for the ceremony. The Moche didn't just kill them, they transformed them into living offerings, staging elaborate reenactments of mythological battles before their deaths. The temple's layers tell an even darker story. Every 100 years, the Moche would seal the existing structure and build a new atop it, a practice archaeologists call architectural enfeeblement. Each new layer contained fresh sacrifices, as if the building itself required periodic feeding. In the deepest level, excavators uncovered a throne room where rulers presided over rites, their faces likely adorned with gold masks resembling Aiapik. The walls here still bear handprints in blood-red pigment, pressed by priests as signatures of their sacred duty. Yet for all its grimness, Huaca de la Luna is also a masterpiece of preservation. The Moche mixed hematite and gypsum into their pigments, creating murals that defy time: vivid yellows, deep blues, and crimson scenes of deities battling sea monsters. One panel shows a procession of prisoners stripped naked, their ropes held by anthropomorphic crabs, a metaphor for the ocean's role in Moche spirituality. Another depicts a ritual runner carrying a goblet, possibly filled with the blood of sacrifices to appease the mountain gods who controlled irrigation waters. The temple's final secret lies in its alignment. During the June solstice, sunlight slices through a narrow window in the uppermost chamber, illuminating a carved stone marker tied to the lunar calendar. This wasn't just a place of death, it was an astronomical observatory where blood and celestial mathematics intertwined. Standing in that sliver of solstice light, you realize the Moche saw no contradiction between beauty and brutality to them. The decapitator god's knife was as necessary as the rain it summoned. Rising from the heart of Yangon like a golden flame, the Asechwedagon Pagoda isn't just a temple, it's a living, breathing monument to devotion. Its central stupa glinting with the weight of 27 metric tons of gold. But what truly sets this sacred site apart isn't the treasure that covers it, it's what lies hidden inside. According to tradition, enshrined deep within its core are 8 hairs from the Buddha himself, gifted to 2 merchant brothers who met him under the Bodhi tree and carried back to Myanmar in a golden reliquary. These strands, whispered to still radiate the warmth of enlightenment, transformed an ordinary hill into one of Buddhism's most hallowed grounds. The stupa's exterior is a symphony of excess and precision. 99,000 gold plates, many no larger than a child's palm, cloak its surface, each one applied by pilgrims over centuries, creating a mosaic of faith that shifts in the tropical light. Crowning the structure, the HDI umbrella sparkles with over 8,000 diamonds and rubies, including a 76-carat diamond at its apex that catches the sunset like a prism. But the real marvel is how this gilded mountain defies physics. Despite standing 326 feet tall on unstable soil, it survived earthquakes by swaying gently on its foundations, a design quirk ancient architects may have borrowed from observing bamboo bend in the wind. Every dawn and dusk, the temple pulses with ritual. Barefoot devotees circle the stupa clockwise, pouring ladles of water over small Buddha statues to cool their karma, while monks chant in hushed tones. The air thrums with the clink of gold hammers as families press new leaves of gold onto the stupa's lower tiers, a merit-earning act believed to weave their names into the temple's eternal story. Some save for years to buy even a sliver of gold leaf. Others offer handfuls of jasmine blooms that scent the marble walkways. The pagoda's 8 planetary posts, each representing a day of the week. Wednesday is split into morning and evening, draw worshippers who bathe their corresponding Buddha statue, seeking favor from celestial forces. Legends cling to Asechwedagon like the gold itself. Some say the original structure was built 26 centuries ago by King Okalapa, though archaeologists date it to between the 6th and 10th centuries. Others claim its treasure chambers hold relics far stranger than Buddha's hair, like a piece of the staff of Kakusandha, a previous Buddha, or fragments of the robe of Kasapa, another enlightened teacher. The British, during their 19th century occupation, nearly emptied the stupa's vaults but hesitated at the final chamber, fearing curses. Whether fact or folklore, these tales amplify the pagoda's aura as a place where the material and spiritual worlds blur. At night, when spotlights set the gold ablaze and the diamond crown scatters light like celestial confetti, Asechwedagon transcends time. It's not just a reliquary or a monument, but a mirror, reflecting the unbroken chain of hands that built it, the whispers of prayers that sustain it, and the quiet truth that faith, like gold, grows more radiant with every layer. Rising above the emerald sea of the Guatemalan rainforest, the Temple of the Jaguar at Decode doesn't just dominate the horizon, it defies it. This 200-foot pyramid, known as Temple 1, is the eternal resting place of Jasor Chan Kayawil, a ruler who turned Tikal from a fading city into a Maya superpower in the 7th century. Climbing its steep steps today with howler monkeys roaring in the distance and sweat trickling down your back, you quickly realize this wasn't just a tomb. It was a throne in the sky, a launch pad where kings became stars. The temple's crown jewel is its roof comb, a towering lattice of stone once painted blood red and studded with stucco reliefs. Imagine it 7 centuries ago, sunlight blazing through its openwork design, casting jagged shadows across the plaza below like a cosmic sundial. This wasn't mere decoration. It was a billboard visible for 30 miles, broadcasting Tikal's might to rivals and allies alike. Every detail, from the jaguar masks flanking the stairway to the strategically placed vents that whistle in the wind like ghostly jaguar growls, was engineered to awe. But the real magic lies beneath your feet. In 1962, archaeologists tunneling through the pyramid's core uncovered Jasor's burial chamber, a time capsule of jade and terror. His skeleton, draped in over 20 pounds of jade beads, still clutched a ceremonial bar adorned with carved ancestor faces. Around him lay the bones of sacrificed youths, their ribs splayed like broken wings, and piles of spiny oyster shells from distant coast tributes proving Tikal's reach stretched far beyond the jungle. Most haunting, the stingray spine placed near his pelvis, a tool kings used to pierce their tongues in bloodletting rituals, mingling royal pain with divine visions. The temple's alignment whispers of celestial precision. Stand on the summit at dawn during the spring equinox, and you'll witness the sun rise directly over Temple 2 across the plaza, its twin, symbolizing the ruler's connection to the waxing and waning of time. At night, the roof comb framed Venus's movements, the planet the Maya associated with war and resurrection. This wasn't coincidence, it was cosmology carved in limestone, a map of the heavens mirrored on Earth. What makes the Temple of the Jaguar unforgettable isn't its height, but its defiance. While other Maya cities built pyramids with rounded edges to blend into the landscape, Tikal's architects chose knife-sharp angles that sliced through the jungle's softness. Even in ruin, it stands unbowed, a monument to a king who refused to be forgotten, his gaze forever fixed on the stars. Rising from the banks of the Chao Phraya River like a shattered porcelain dream, Wat Arun, the Temple of the Dawn glistens with a magic that defies its humble materials. Its central prang, a 70-meter spire inspired by the Khmer temples of Angkor, isn't adorned with gold or jewels, but with countless shards of broken Chinese porcelain, painstakingly arranged into floral mosaics that catch the light like scattered constellations. This temple's brilliance isn't in opulence but in resurrection. The porcelain fragments were salvaged from ballast discarded by trading ships, transformed from trash into a shimmering testament to Buddhist impermanence and ingenuity. Step closer and the prang's intricate symbolism unfolds. Its steep stairs represent the arduous path to enlightenment, while the 4 satellite towers mirror the cosmic oceans of Hindu-Buddhist cosmology. At dusk, when the last rays of sunlight ignite the porcelain shards into a fiery tapestry, the entire structure becomes a visual hymn to Mount Meru, the axis of the universe in Buddhist tradition. But unlike Khmer temples that merely depict the sacred mountain, Wat Arun performs it. The central prang's curvature mirrors Meru's slopes, and its alignment ensures the first light of dawn strikes its pinnacle, as if summoning the gods to earth. The temple's construction whispers of communal devotion. Built during King Taksin's reign in the 18th century, its porcelain mosaics weren't crafted by royal artisans, but by ordinary citizens who donated broken dishes and bottles, each shard a personal offering. Even the temple's name honors this collective spirit. Arun derives from Aruna, the Hindu dawn god, but locals swear it's also a nod to the way the prang's spires seem to Arun pierce the morning sky. Yet Wat Arun's true marvel isn't just its beauty, but its resilience. Lightning strikes toppled its tallest spire in the 19th century, and invading Burmese armies once looted its treasures. But like the porcelain shards that adorn it, the temple was always pieced back together, its cracks gilded with gold leaf to honor the Japanese art of kintsugi, finding beauty in brokenness. Today, as ferries glide across the river and monks chant beneath its shadow, Wat Arun stands as a paradox, a monument both fragile and eternal, where the dawn doesn't just illuminate the temple, it becomes part of its story, painting the porcelain with new light every morning, as if the universe itself can't resist adding another layer to its mosaic. From the prehistoric whispers of Göbekli Tepe to the porcelain brilliance of Wat Arun, these 30 temples are more than just stone and mortar. They're a testament to humanity's unshakable yearning to touch the divine. Each one tells a story of pharaohs who believed they could cheat death, of Maya kings who mapped the cosmos in limestone, of pilgrims who crossed continents just to catch a glimpse of the eternal. Some were built by empires at their zenith, others by cultures on the brink of vanishing, yet all share a common thread: the breathtaking audacity to reach beyond what seems possible. Think about it, civilizations with no shared language, no contact, spanning thousands of miles and millennia, arrived at the same stunning conclusion: that the sacred deserved not just shelters but masterpieces, that the gods, whether they took the form of feathered serpents, golden Buddhas, or the sun itself, should dwell in spaces that make the heart race and the breath catch. These temples weren't just places of worship, they were bridges between earth and sky, between the mortal and the infinite, and here's the miracle: they still are. Whether it's the way dawn light slices through Angkor Wat's corridors or how Shwedagon's gold seems to pulse under the Burmese sun, these places haven't lost their power. They remind us that genius isn't just about technology but imagination, that a worker carving hieroglyphs at Karnak or an Inca mason fitting stones at Machu Picchu without mortar were just as brilliant as any modern engineer. Their legacy isn't locked in the past, it's alive every time someone stands in their shadows and feels that electric jolt of connection across time. So now we turn to you. Which of these temples left you awestruck? Have you walked the sacred paths of one, or do you dream of feeling its stones under your palms someday? Drop your stories and bucket list wonders in the comments. We're all fellow travelers here, chasing history's echoes. And if you've loved this journey through humanity's most breathtaking sacred spaces, hit that subscribe button, because the world's still full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and we've only just begun. Until next time, keep looking up. You never know when you'll spot the next temple piercing the clouds.